Hi guys, it's Lily again, and this time I wanted to do a review of a planner that's a bit different. So you might be thinking, what's this? I've never heard of this planner before. And indeed, to the best of my knowledge, there is not a single review or indeed mention of any kind of this planner on the whole of YouTube, which I'm actually surprised about because surely I can't be the only Jewish planner addict out there, can I? But anyway, this planner is, I think it's really interesting to look at whether you're Jewish or not, both because, like I said, there's no information on it out there as far as I can tell, and it's quite a nice planner. So, you know, if you're Jewish and you're looking for a calendar that includes the Jewish holidays and Jewish dates, then I think this is a good option. And if you're not Jewish, but you're curious to see what a specifically Jewish planner looks like, then this is also for you. And the Jewish calendar is very different from the Gregorian calendar, so I think that's just interesting for planner addicts in general from a kind of comparative planner perspective. So for me personally, this planner has a kind of special place in my heart because this was my first ever paper planner. I think that I started using this in maybe 1999. My mum bought it for me as a present, and I used it for about maybe 3 years. And the only reason that I stopped using it was because when I started university, I joined the Jewish Society, and at the time they were giving out free planners, like kind of at the beginning of every year. And so not this planner, their own, the like UK Union of Jewish Students planner. And so, you know, being a student, I opted for the free planner. And I never used this again. And then recently, I was talking to James about it, and I was like, yeah, I think that was my first planner. I wonder if it's still out there. And so I did a search, and lo and behold, there it was on Amazon. And it's quite cheap. It was £10 on the UK Amazon, and I think even cheaper on the US Amazon. I think it's like $10 or $11, because I first found it on the US Amazon site, and then I found it was on the UK site as well. So I thought I'd like to see it again, both because it's got some useful information and also just, you know, kind of for nostalgia, and I thought I'll figure out a use for it. And I thought it would be nice to show to you guys. So as you can see, this is a spiral bound planner. That's actually, I think, one of its biggest drawbacks, just for me personally, because I'm not a fan of spiral bound planners. I know a lot of them are really popular, and I've never had like the Inkwell Press or, you know, like some of the spiral bound planners now that are really popular and, you know, really good quality and people like a lot. So I'm not like trying to, you know, diss spiral bound planners. It's just somehow for me personally, it's an aesthetic thing. I kind of feel like they remind me of just like the sort of cheap spiral bound notebooks that, you know, you get from office supply stores. And my favorites are bound planners because they remind me of books. And I think when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. And so I liked the idea of, I loved like journals and blank books that were bound and looked like a, you know, like a real published book. And I think that's where it comes from, and it somehow always remained. And so I really like the idea of writing in something that looks like a book rather than a notebook or, you know, like in the case of a ring bound planner, like they don't look as much like books to me. And then also obviously you've got the issue of the quality of the spirals, which I know varies a lot just from seeing other people's videos. So like the Inkwell Press, you know, everybody says that's a really good quality spiral. This one is not, which is probably not a surprise given the price. So if I do that, you see how it bends really easily. And I remember when I used to use this, that after a few months, like this was really, you know, like kind of bent, and sometimes it could get a bit hard to turn the pages. And I know a lot of people like spiral planners because they fold back on themselves. That's something that I've heard. I personally don't care about that. As long as it lays flat, I'm happy. I don't care if I can like fold it back on itself and write on one side, but I know that is important to some people. So if you like spiral bound planners, then just ignore everything that I'm saying here, but that's just how I feel about them. In terms of size, it's pretty much an A5 size. So this is my Hobonichi cousin, and you can see it's a bit bigger than that. So with the cover, like, so it's like, I guess a little bit bigger than A5 if you compared it to an A5 piece of paper. But then on the other hand, this is my A5 Filofax. and it's a little bit smaller than that. So it's just around A5 size. So it's quite portable and it's pretty light. It's, I don't know, I'd say compared to my cousin, definitely lighter than the cousin with the cover. So quite portable. The cover is, it's like a kind of matte, sort of thick cardstock with some kind of a plasticky overlay. It's not laminated. It feels like a good quality paperback book. You know, as in like the cover is quite hard, you know, and thick, like maybe I don't know, yeah, like a sort of a good quality paperback, thicker than your sort of normal cardstock. And as I recall, again, like this is from years ago, so it might have changed. I remember it sort of being like having this layer of plastic that sort of eventually started coming off, which sometimes happens with paperbacks, you know, like that are coated with a sort of film. And so I think that might be the case here, but I'm not sure. Maybe they've changed it. So when you open it, it's completely blank here, and you could use that as a dashboard. It's like completely white, and then here it's got the title, and as you can see already, it's called the Jewish Calendar, which I think is a really funny name because it kind of sounds like it sounds very generic. It's just like the Jewish calendar, you know, like if you had a planner that was called the Gregorian calendar. Like, I don't understand why they called it that. When I used to have it years ago, it was called the Jewish Engagement Calendar, which is also kind of a funny name, but slightly less funny than this. I don't know, that's just how it seems to me. Slightly odd name, but there you are. And you can see it's 2015 to 2016, so it goes, if we just go back to the cover, you can see here it goes from September 2015 to December 2016, so it's 16 months, which is actually pretty standard for a Jewish planner, because the Jewish year starts in September or October. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, that's when the New Year starts. And so sort of one Jewish year will sort of naturally always overlap with parts of two Gregorian years. And so Jewish calendars are kind of by default always, or Jewish planners are always like academic planners. And they usually go sort of from September until December, so that they cover the whole of the Gregorian year as well as the whole of the Jewish year. And as you can see here, the Jewish year that's equivalent to 2015-16 is 5776. And that date, if you know this stuff, by the way, then just ignore this, but just for the benefit of those who aren't familiar with the Jewish calendar, the dating, the numbers of the years go back to like kind of the traditional calculation of creation, like the beginning of the world. So that's what that number comes from. That's like kind of the traditional way of calculating. Yeah, so this is, I'm not sure exactly what the connection is with the Jewish Museum of New York. The pictures, which you'll see, there are lots of photos in here, and they all come from the Jewish Museum of New York. But it's published by this publisher called Universe. And as far as I can tell, it's only available on Amazon. And I think on barnesandnoble.com, I was Googling, trying to find information about it, and there's like practically nothing on it. And those are the only places that it came up as being available, but it's easy to get because it's on Amazon. It kind of feels more like a book to me than a planner, because like, you know, normally a lot of planners have something like, you know, where to put your personal details here. It doesn't have anything like that. It has the title like a book, and then when you turn the page again, it's got publication information, which is really funny because, again, like normally planners would have, you know, either like the personal details or, you know, they'd start in with like some planner information of some kind, but this has got like copyright. Maybe it's because of the photos. And then straight away, this is one of the nicest things about this planner, is that it has photos of items from the Jewish Museum in New York. So this one is an alms container, like a container for putting charity in. So yeah, it tells you like where everything is from and what it is. The paper quality is really nice in this, which might be surprising given, you know, like the spiral and everything. It doesn't seem like the paper quality would be nice, but it's glossy. And to me, it feels comparable to my Lime Life inserts, which are 120 GSM. So I don't know. I don't think it says anywhere what the paper quality is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like 120 GSM. It feels like quite thick. And as you can see here, it's like glossy, very smooth. And I haven't written in this one yet because it just came, but from the, you know, years ago when I used to use it, I remember it being very, you know, like nice to write on. So, it goes straight in to the first weekly spread. Okay, so you'll notice a couple of things. Firstly, no monthly spreads in this at all, which I think could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. I remember, I mean, really until like kind of a year or two ago when I sort of got into the planner community and, you know, started like comparing all different kinds of planners and noticing the differences between them and, you know, watching videos, I was really like kind of pretty, you know, kind of blasé about what kind of planner I was using. I just would take what I could get. So first I had this planner, and then I had the free student planner, which I think was a week on 2-page spread, horizontal. And then for years, I've mentioned after that, I used this Hebrew planner, which was again like really basic and varied. Sometimes it was a day per page, and sometimes with times, and sometimes it was like a week on 2 pages. When I say sometimes, because it depended like year after year. There's a Hebrew bookshop where I live in London, and they would like get them in every year, and like some years they would have bigger ones and some years they'd have smaller ones. So I really just, yeah, I was very, you know, I wasn't at all particular. And I never had a monthly view until, in fact, I never had a monthly view until this year when I started using my cousin. And, you know, like now I love having a monthly view, and, you know, I wouldn't want to go back to not having one, but there was a time when like I wouldn't have even thought about that. And there are a lot of reviews on Amazon of people who use this planner and really love it. So obviously it's not a deal breaker for everyone, but I'm just mentioning it because I think in the planner community, a monthly view is quite important. So, you know, a lot of people would be like, what? No monthly view? So yeah, there's that. And then another thing that you'll notice here is that firstly, it's a week per page, which I think is kind of a nice setup if you don't have too much to plan. It obviously depends on what you're using this for. And then on the other page, there's a photo. So this one is in a wall hanging, 19th to early 20th century. And it's quite, so aesthetically, it's quite nice because you always have this picture on one side. But let's look at the week per page in a bit more detail. So let's see, I'm not sure, there's a bit of a glare, so hopefully you can see this. So it says, it starts at the end of August, beginning of September, and it's got the English month name on the left, and then the Hebrew month name on the right in the Hebrew script, and also in transliteration. So the month that corresponds to August to September is Elul. So the Hebrew months are, obviously, they're completely different from the Gregorian months. They're either 29 or 30 days. The Jewish calendar is like a kind of loony solar calendar. So it's primarily lunar, as in the months, each month starts with a new moon. I hope this isn't too much information about the Jewish calendar. I just think that it's interesting. I like learning about different calendars. And in fact, I think it would be cool to see more like kind of planners from different cultural traditions. I don't know how many there are out there, but I would be really interesting to see more. So let me know if you have any tips. Yeah, and so Elul, it's kind of like overlaps with August/September. And so on the left, because Hebrew is written from right to left, so it makes sense for the Hebrew to be on the right. And then you've got the English on the left, and you see you've got two different parallel dates. So 30th of August is the 15th of Elul, if that makes sense. So the months don't match up at all. And so you've got both here. So you can see what date it is on the Hebrew calendar as well as on the Gregorian calendar at the same time, which is a really nice feature. And then it also lists holidays. It lists like kind of secular / national holidays and also Jewish holidays. So, for example, the 31st of August is a bank holiday in the UK, which is useful for me to know. And I guess these holidays must be international because this isn't a British calendar. This is American made. So it must have some international holidays. The color, I'm not sure if it's coming up on camera, but the color of the two different calendars is slightly different. So this is black and this is slightly gray on the Hebrew side. One thing it doesn't have, which I think would be nice, is that it doesn't have the Hebrew numbers. So the Hebrew alphabet is also used for representing the numbers, and that's how traditionally how the dates are represented. So I think it would have been nice if they'd included that as well, just as they included the name Elul in Hebrew, if they'd put the letters in Hebrew here, but that's fine that they didn't. The numbers are good too. And the other thing that you'll see is that it starts on Sunday, and this is also standard for a Jewish calendar. The Jewish week starts on Sunday. And I always think it's interesting because, you kind of have the discussion going back and forth in the planner community about Monday starts versus Sunday starts. And then you have some calendars where they do the monthly layout starting on Sunday and the weekly layout starting on Monday. And then, like in some, like the Hobonichi, you can choose a Sunday or Monday start. So like ideally I would always go for a Sunday start because that's how the Jewish week works. But with things like with my cousin, they didn't offer a Sunday start for it, so I kind of got used to a Monday start. But yeah, so it will have Sunday, and then it will go through Friday, and then if you can see here, Saturday is a little bit smaller. You still have a box for Saturday, but it's slightly smaller because it's Shabbat, which is the Jewish Sabbath. So it's like traditionally, you wouldn't need to write on Shabbat. A lot of people don't write on Shabbat. And then the other thing that it tells you here is, I don't know why the light is not cooperating, but it gives you the Torah portion. So every Shabbat there's a portion of Torah that's read in synagogue, and it tells you what it is. And then it also has a little box on the bottom right that gives you a monthly overview. So that kind of in a small way compensates for the lack of a monthly view. I mean, not really, because you can't write in it, but at least you can see what's going on in August and September. And then, let's see if we turn over. I'll go through this all quickly just so you can see the illustrations because they're really nice. So it goes on in the same way. So like, for example, here it lists Monday the 7th of September was Labor Day in the US and Canada. So it lists some probably English-speaking, I guess, international holidays. And then here it has September and October. So this has become September on the English side, and on the Hebrew side it's still Elul. And this is a Torah shield from Poland, 19th century. Now see, this is what happens with the spiral. It's like sometimes the pages catch a bit. It's not the end of the world, but it's not, I would prefer it if it were bound. I guess, because this is A5, if you like this but you didn't like the spiral, you could always cut this out and then punch it, and it would fit perfectly, I think, in an A5 ring binder. And so then you get, this is another nice feature that it has. If you celebrate Jewish holidays, it tells you when the holiday starts, and Jewish holidays always start the evening before the first day of the holiday. So, and that's called Erev, meaning like evening. So Erev Rosh Hashanah is on the 29th of Elul, or the 13th of September. This was 2015, so this has just happened relatively recently. And so here on the Hebrew side it says Erev Rosh Hashanah, and then on the English side it says Rosh Hashanah begins at sundown. So it marks it there as well. And then you can see it's Elul and Tishrei, because Rosh Hashanah marks the beginning of the month of Tishrei. And so then it's got Rosh Hashanah and then Rosh Hashanah because Rosh Hashanah lasts 2 days. And then the fast of Gedalia, which is a fast day, the day after Rosh Hashanah ends. So it's really convenient because it depends on the planner. Filofax inserts actually label the Jewish holidays, which I find really convenient, but they don't tell you that it starts the evening before. So you're always kind of wondering, if you see like the date when a holiday starts, you're like, well, is that the day that it really starts, i.e. the evening, or is it like the next day, which is like the first full day of the holiday? So this one like tells you it's Erev Rosh Hashanah, which I like. And then we get this one is slightly different for some reason. Normally the right hand side always has a picture on it, but this one for some reason it has a double spread. I don't know why. And then here you have like, it has some cool things labeled here, like Monday the 21st of September was International Day of Peace. And you just have a small picture there. And then it has the same for Yom Kippur. There are a lot of holidays in this part of the year, Jewish holidays. So Yom Kippur begins at sundown, it says on the English side, and then on the Hebrew side, Erev Yom Kippur. And then it also lists things like first day of autumn. So it really kind of has you pretty well covered if you want to know the Jewish holidays and the like kind of, you know, local holidays. It will tell you. And then it also tells you when it's a full moon. And it lists again more Jewish holidays. So this is Sukkot. So Sukkot is an 8-day holiday. And so it says here Erev Sukkot, that's the evening when it starts. And this is interesting. It doesn't list Sukkot on the English side, I think because it's not as well known of a holiday in the sort of general society. Like Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are quite well known, I guess, comparatively, but I think Sukkot is less so. So it doesn't list that, it only lists it on the Hebrew side. And then it lists all of the days. First day of Sukkot, second day Chol HaMoed, which is kind of like half holiday and half... some holidays, some Jewish holidays like Passover and Sukkot that last for sort of more than a week. The sort of intermediate days are like, yeah, you can work, but they're still kind of festive. And that's called Chol HaMoed. And so then it's got like 4 days of Chol HaMoed. And then it's got the last... like kind of the closing days of Sukkot. And now for some reason it goes back to the normal spread. Maybe it was, I don't know what would have caused that, the number of pictures that they had or what, that it had that double spread last week. No, it's done it again. I'm not sure what the reasoning is here. Maybe it's every other week. I think that's what it is. Okay, so then we get, like here it lists, so Columbus Day, US, Thanksgiving Day, Canada, and it lists Rosh Chodesh on the Hebrew side, which is the beginning of the month, which is kind of like a little holiday. So this is when like Tishrei turns into Cheshvan. And as always, it tells you what the Torah portion is. So let's see. Then here it lists on the English side Halloween, full moon. So it's really quite nice in terms of its coverage, I think, of the various types of celebrations that one might want to know about. Daylight saving times ends US and Canada. Yeah, that's different than in the UK. So yeah, it looks like, I think on every other spread it's just got this small picture here and it has a double spread, so 1 week and then another week, and then every other page it's got a full-size picture. So yeah, in terms of the sort of week per page layout, like I think that this is quite a nice layout depending on what you want it for. Like I did use this as my main planner years ago, but I really didn't have a lot of stuff going on then and it was fine. So it's like if you're just writing down the occasional appointment and you have like a job where, you know, you don't need like kind of a complicated planner for work and you don't need a complicated planner for home or whatever, then it would be fine. But I think for a lot of people this wouldn't work as your only planner, particularly because the other major drawback, aside from the spirals, is the fact that it doesn't have any note paper. And I think that's really a shame because that seems kind of like pretty much of an essential, I would say, for a planner. And most planners have it. So yeah, no note paper at all. So we just keep going through. So yeah, then the next page has got these kind of like 2 weekly spreads for December, it's got some pictures of Chanukias, menorahs for the holiday of Hanukkah, which is sometime in December. I'm not sure when it is this year. I think it will tell me. So Erev Hanukkah is the 6th of December, and it goes for 8 days. And it marks in things like first day of winter, 21st of December, and then it is also listed Christmas and Kwanzaa, New Year's Day. Now it switched again. So this one, it had the week on the left and then the photo here. And then on this one, it's gone the opposite way, and it's got the picture on the left and the week on the right. And then it's got another double spread again. So I'm really not sure what the reasoning is, but it's fine. I mean, you always get a week per page. So it's kind of interesting that they went for a week per page rather than a week on 2 pages. Then we have, so that's a Torah crown, so you put over the top of the Torah. Then we have, this is a sort of another interesting feature of the Jewish calendar. So because the Jewish calendar is lunar, that means that you lose some time every year. Like, that's why the Jewish holidays kind of shift. So Rosh Hashanah, can be in early October one year and then kind of mid-September the next year. And to compensate for that, every couple of years we have a leap month. So it's kind of like the same concept as leap year, except instead of a day, it's a whole month. And I think it's 7 times in 19 years or something like that. And we've got one this year, so you can see it has, if you can see, it says Adar 1, Adar Aleph, which is like the first Adar, because there's also going to be a second Adar. So if we go forward here, it says Adar 2. And on the English side, obviously, you can ignore that because it doesn't come up. So yeah, we keep going. It lists things like, so St. Patrick's Day, and then it has Palm Sunday, Good Friday. So it lists holidays of other religions as well on the English side. Just to see some more of the illustrations. So these are all different kinds of ritual objects mostly, but there are other things as well, like the wall hanging, but it's mostly kind of Jewish ceremonial objects. So this is a ketubah, a wedding contract, and it tells you what it is in each case. Prayer shawl bag. And so kind of goes on like that. I think in terms of the layout, it's quite nice, as in I like the font. It's very clean. The design, I think, is also it's kind of not too busy. It's kind of nice clean lines. I think it's a pleasing layout visually. This is another tzedakah charity box. So then we're going back into September, October. This is now 2016. This has all been 2016. I'm getting confused because of the different years. It's all because it was 5776, and then this is the end of this is 5777 in the Jewish calendar. So it goes until December 2016, and then this is the last calendar page. So this is the last weekly spread, the end of December 2016. And then it shows you here January 2017. And then at the end you get a feature which is really useful, if you need to know about kind of the Jewish liturgical cycle, which for me is handy. So it lists all of the Torah readings. It lists them in here as well. It lists what the parsha is, which means the Torah portion. But here it actually lists the kind of which book it is and which verses, so you can look it up, and then also lists the Haftorah, the prophetic readings, which are read in synagogue after the Torah reading. And it lists those for 2015 and 2016, which is really useful if you sort of need to know that kind of thing. And then it lists all of the Jewish holidays. and it tells you the Torah readings and like what kind of candle blessings and what other additional readings there are. So this is all like kind of holiday synagogue prayer ritual type stuff, but it's quite useful to have it there. And then it also gives you some information about like the theme of the holiday, biblical or historical significance, seasonal significance, and selected customs, which is interesting. Like, so like Tu B'Shvat is like planting trees and eating varieties of nuts and fruits, and this is a holiday that happens in winter. So it does that for all of the holidays, and it includes like kind of the ancient holidays, you know, like the traditional holidays, and then also some of the sort of new like modern holidays like Yom HaShoah, the Day of the Remembrance of the Holocaust. And then this is my favorite bit, and this is only really useful if you need to know when Shabbat and holiday candlelighting times are, but I do need to know that, and up until now I'd been looking them up on the internet and then writing them into my home planner like week by week, and this is going to make things much more convenient because it lists the times when you need to light candles for the beginning of Shabbat and holidays through the whole of from September 2015 through to December 2016, and it lists a whole bunch of places. So Jerusalem, London, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Miami, Toronto, Houston, Detroit, Chicago, L.A. So mostly North American, which makes sense because that's where the majority of users of this probably will be. But it also lists London, which I'm very happy for because that's where I am. Yeah, so you can just check this for every week. And then, this is another interesting feature. This is, I was kind of discussing this with the Sassy Pineapple because she pointed this out in one of her videos, how you never see this like kind of year at a glance at the end of a planner, and it makes sense that it would be there. And here it is. So I think like this is the first planner that I've seen that's got the whole yearly spread, both for the sort of current year of the planner and for the year after at the end. It doesn't have anything at the beginning. And that's it. It ends. And it's just, you've got the back cover, and that's it. So again, this kind of feels like a book to me because like there's just nothing here at the end, and then it's kind of got this overview like a blurb on the back, which is funny because I think most planners don't have that. So yeah, I would say sort of in terms of like pros and cons of this planner, I think the three major drawbacks of it are, one, for me, the spiral, and here, this is where you can see what I was talking about earlier. If this is the wire binding, so you can see how it kind of, that's where it joins, and it can like kind of pull apart there. So the pages like could actually potentially come out, although it's not usually a problem, but it's just another thing that can go wrong with wire bindings and why I don't really like them. But yeah, so in my opinion, the wire binding, but you know, that's just personal. The second thing is the lack of a monthly view. And the third one is the lack of notepaper. I have seen videos where people do hacks to insert pages into spiral bound planners, so I know that that is possible. So in theory, it would be possible to add some notepaper in here, but I don't think you could add like a whole ton because it's kind of bound, you know, so that it's supposed to be this size, so I don't think you could add very much in. I guess you could use sticky notes, but it is nice to have notepaper. But yeah, aside from that, I think it's a really nice planner. It's really well laid out. Obviously, it's, you know, sort of the most useful if you want to know what the Jewish date is and when the Jewish holidays are and other Jewish calendar information. But I think it's just a really nice option because it's got all of these beautiful illustrations, and that's something that you don't see very often in a planner. So it's, you know, it's kind of really nicely like decorated throughout, and yeah, so I kind of just wanted to draw a bit of attention to this planner because I think it's a nice option, and for some reason it seems to be completely neglected on YouTube. So I sort of wanted to change that. So I hope that you enjoyed this review, and as always, I'm really, really grateful to you for watching and for commenting, and thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!